The first race of the F1 season just finished, and there's a lot of things to talk about here. So I'm thinking just let's get into it. Even before the race starting, there was a crash. Unfortunately, the home hero of the race, Oscar Piastri, crashed in the reconnaissance lap. So before the formation lap, there's a reconnaissance lap where you are just going to the grid for the formation lap. Oscar didn't anticipate the power of the car, of the McLaren car, and he kinda spun into the wall. In the post-race interview that it was kinda his fault, he didn't really expect that kind of power. It's very sad to see. I guess the Australian race has a curse on the home heroes next year, 2027. I hope for you, Oscar. But okay, so the main talking point about the race, the start. A lot of things to talk about here. Let's start with the 5 white lights. It was very fast from 5 to go. It was basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 go. It was no wait between 5 and go. That caught some drivers off guard, I guess, and was very chaotic after that. So the main thing here is obviously that Charles Leclerc took the lead from Russell. It was a very nice start for them, for Ferrari in general. I think Lewis started in 7th, and after turn 1 was like P4 or P3 or something. So a very good start for Ferrari. Also Fernando Alonso, I think he started P17 and got P10 or something. It was very spread out. It's like when you're playing pool and you start off the game. It's kind of like it was like chaos from the grid from the start. So it's kind of nice to see that qualifying might not be the only factor towards the race, like that the race is obviously very important now, especially the start. So this start was very chaotic, so I'm thinking let's go to the first laps of racing. Okay, so before going into the first laps of racing, please subscribe, it will help me out. Please. The biggest focus after the start was the battle for P1, obviously, between Charles Leclerc and George Russell. Very good racing, I would say. Like every lap we had a new race leader, it felt like. There was a moment in like lap 8 or something. I actually have 2 Lego cars so I can demonstrate. So it started, they were side by side, and then looked like the Mercedes was going to overtake. But then Charles just... But then in the turn, George kept the position. But there was a point there where I was like, I was not expecting that. And I love to see that even at the last second, before a corner, you could try to overtake someone. I was awake then. But the racing seems to be very nice. It was a battle between like Ocon and Gasly that was pretty cool to see also. Obviously Lando and Max. So yeah, the first laps of racing was very entertaining. Like I don't really have much to say. It was just the start was chaos, and then was very many laps of good racing also. After the first laps of racing, I wanted to talk about the Ferrari's competitiveness. They seem to be quite competitive, at least for podiums and top 5s. They are obviously going to be there quite often. After this race at least, it seems like they are the only competitor to Mercedes. And it's very nice to see Matt from P1 being very happy for Ferrari. Forza Ferrari! Also Mercedes. Obviously the fastest. They dropped back a little bit after the start, but after like halfway they were convincingly in the top. I wasn't expecting anything else. I was not expecting them to lose positions in the start maybe, but that they took it back wasn't very weird to me. Mercedes seems to be the team to beat, unsurprisingly. So then we had a couple of VSCs. I have to look at my notebook here of when and where and who. So there was a VSC at lap 12. I haven't written down who it was, but I put down that everyone pitted besides Ferrari, and I'm going to talk about that strategy miss a little bit. And then that VSC ended on lap 14. And then we had another VSC when Valtteri Bottas retired at lap 19. I'm very sad to see that because he's my favorite Cadillac driver, or maybe my favorite driver right now at least. Oh yeah, also that VSC on lap 19 was pretty devastating for Ferrari because the pit entry was closed because Valtteri's car was going to the garage through the pit lane. So Ferrari couldn't pit then either because they didn't pit on the first VSC and they couldn't pit now either. And then we had a VSC on lap 34 and it ended on the same lap. So yeah, it was 3 safety cars or virtual safety cars, and it made it a little bit more interesting, but it wasn't too much. Let's talk about the Ferrari strategy miss. So lap 12, VSC. Everyone besides Ferrari decided to pit. I think that was the wrong move because that gave Mercedes newer tires. My understanding is that if Ferrari decided to pit on lap 12, they would probably have been more competitive at the end of the race, but yeah, we'll never know. And then obviously it became only worse for Ferrari when at lap 19, where there was another VSC where I thought they were going to pit, but they couldn't because the pit entry was closed. So they had to wait even longer to pit. I'm trying to understand my notes here. I think that Leclerc went into the pits at lap 25 and then Lewis a few laps after, I believe. Bad timing for them. And Lewis Hamilton after the first VSC also said that we should have pitted, or at least one, so that they would have split. So Lewis said that they should have split strategies there, and I think they should have at least tried with that. A little bit of a strategy miss there from Ferrari, but that is kind of expected, I guess. So we had a few DNFs. The biggest one for me was Isaac, of course. Started P3 and then didn't even finish the race. It's very sad to see. I said in my video yesterday that he did a great job in qualifying, even no matter what happens in the race. And I do still think that, of course, he is a very fast driver, a very good result in qualifying, but it's sad to see that it didn't lead to a podium or a top 5 or even points finish in this race. Alonso retired pretty early on. I think that he was the first safety car and Valtteri was the second, and then the last safety car, the third one, was the debris. I think that was it. It didn't look like they would even start the race in testing or in qualifying yesterday, or even in practice. So I think that Aston has improved a little bit, but still 15 laps down, that you can't call yourself competitive when you're 15 laps down. So they have a lot of work to do, obviously. And then the last DNF was Valtteri. I wasn't too surprised that a Cadillac would DNF, but it's kind of sad to see because he's one of my favorite drivers, of course. And now we have 2 other main parts that I wanted to talk about. First off, the rookie got points in his first race. I mean, very nice. Hell yeah. Okay, so he got P8, so he gets, is that 4 points? Amazingly done, Arvid. Actually didn't really expect him to get points. He's obviously very young, so he might be on like a leaderboard of like the youngest point scorers, maybe. So he doesn't seem very aggressive, but he's kind of that Liam Lawson or Max Verstappen mentality. It feels like he's very fierce fighter, kind of. He's a fighter, basically. And I like him even more because he's also part Swedish, like half Swedish. So it's a very Swedish name, so hats off. And now, somehow, to me, Max was very anonymous, but every time I looked at him in the timetable, he was always like 2 positions up from the last time I looked. So he started P20 and he went to P6. You cannot stop this guy. What, like, is he going to do this every time? He have done this like too many times now. Like he did it in Brazil in 25 and 24 and now here. How often is this going to happen? But yeah, of course, amazingly done also. Yeah, he's going to do this every time he gets bad results in qualifying or crashes in qualifying or something like that. I'm not very surprised, I guess, but it was like every time I watched him in the timetable, I was like, oh, whoa, P14, whoa, okay. and then I looked at the race between George and Charles. Whoa, P12. Okay. He's starting to get a little bit dangerous here. Okay, George Russell and Russell. Ooh, a good overtake there. Okay, new race leader. P8 was kind of like that for me. Quite anonymous. Like I forgot about him quite a lot because he crashed in qualifying. I was like, okay, he's out of the conversation, but he never is. He's Max Verstappen. He's always in the conversations. Very well done from Max Verstappen, but he doesn't need that from me. I think he knows. So I wanted to talk about my predictions for this race. So I'm going to call this section of conversation for prediction correction. And I haven't put any limit on or threshold on how many predictions for every race. So I'm thinking like if I get half of the predictions correct, I get 1 point for that race or that Grand Prix. So if I get 60% of them correct, I get 1 point for that race, and then if I get 40% in China, I don't get any points, so I have one out of 2 races, and so on for the 24 races, so I can have at most 24 points when the season is done. Okay, so let's do the quali top 5 first, and then all the random predictions for quali also. So I said that George will get pole, 1 correct, and then I said Charles Leclerc. That was not correct. So I have 1 correct out of 2. And then I said that Kimi would get P3 in quali. Not correct. And then I said Oscar, and that was not correct. 1 out of 4 is not looking very good. And then Lando, which was not correct either. So in the top 5 I have only 1 point. First random prediction for the quali was crash in quali leading to red flag. Yeah, and Max Verstappen did that in Q1, so I get another point. Okay, so I have 1 out of 6, because I have 6 predictions, random predictions for the quali. I had 1 Ferrari gets knocked out in Q2. That was not correct. Both Ferraris got in Q3. And then I had the Haas drivers gets to Q3. That was not correct. They both got out in Q2. And then we had Cadillac in last place. That was correct. 18th and 19th, and then the others crashed or retired. 1 more point. 2 out of 6 out of the random predictions for the quali. And then Aston gets the 107% rule. I don't think they did, right? Because they didn't really participate. And if they did and got the 107% rule, then they wouldn't be qualified to race. And they did race. So I don't think I get a point for that. Then I said like the biggest upset of qualifying would be that Max got P8. He got P20, so I did not get that specific prediction, but I did predict that he would be a big upset in qualifying, but I don't get that point because I said specifically P8. Okay, so my quali points was not very good, 3 out of 11. So we gotta step it up in the race predictions. Let's go to the race predictions. In P1 I had George, so I get 1 correct there. And then I had Kimi Antonelli, also correct. So I get 2 out of 5 for the top 5. And then I actually had Charles Leclerc. This seems nice, okay, 3 out of 5. And then I had Max. That was incorrect, he was P6. And then Oscar, and he didn't even start the race, so I don't get that point. But 3 out of 5 on the top 5. I think that's pretty good. And then random predictions. Okay, so first random prediction for the race. Yellow flag at the end of the race. We had a yellow flag at lap 34, but I said that it had to be in the last 10 laps, and 34 and 58 isn't in the last 10 laps, so I don't get a point there. And then I had Mercedes gets both drivers on the podium, and that was very correct, so I get 1 point there. And then I said Charles on the podium as well. Like in hindsight this seems obvious, but of course everything seems obvious in hindsight, so. And then I had McLaren Boyds gets 5 and 6. I do think that Lando got P5. Yes, McLaren, Lando Norris got P5. I'm gonna give myself half a point there. I think that's okay. And if I got both correct, I would only get 1 point. I think that's okay. None of the Astons finish the race or get DSQ'd because of the 107% rule. So one Aston did finish the race, but 15 laps down, so I don't get a point there. My dad's prediction was there is going to be an animal on track. I don't think that happened, right? I did see some clips of in like F3 there was ducks on track and it was raining, and then when Max crashed in quali there was a bird nearby that like, I don't think I get that because it wasn't, or I did say actually actually did say that in any session this would count, and it happened in qualifying, so I'm actually going to give myself a point here. 3.5 out of 7 predictions. And then I had Haas shock. Good. I would actually say that it was pretty good. Oliver Bearman got P7, got 6 points, and then Esteban Ocon was P11. I would say that's an improvement from last year. I would say that I have 4.5 points there. So my race points was amazing, but my race points wasn't. So in the race I got 7.5 out of 12. And that is obviously more than half. And then I got 3 out of 11 in quali points, and then I will add them together, of course, so 10.5 out of 23. That is not half. Okay, but I still do have Fire and Dyer, so I have to get at least... I have 10.5 out of 27 now. I have 4 more predictions, so I have to get at least 3 correct, right? So if I get 3 correct, I win this prediction point. Okay, Fire and Dyer. First teams. Dyer, Aston. 1 point there. I don't think anyone will argue with me there. And then Fire, Haas. I did say that it was pretty good. I hope you agree with me here. I'm going to give myself 12.5. I need to get the 1 more here. Now we go on to Fire and Dyer on drivers. Max. Not Fire in quali, but I would say Fire in the race. Wouldn't you agree? P20 to P6. Do I have to say more? Let's go! And then I had Dyer Lando. I wouldn't say Dyer. He finished where he started, basically. But I don't even have to think about that. I got the point for predictions. So fucking good I am. First race. I got my first prediction season point. I would say that's a pretty good result. Hopefully I can keep this up. I would agree that I did pretty boring predictions maybe. I think I'm going to do more crazy ones, but I'm not going to restrict myself on doing a set amount of predictions, I think. So yeah, that was pretty much all the things I wanted to talk about. The Oscar crash, the start, the first laps of racing, Ferrari, Mercedes, the VSCs, Ferrari strategy miss, the DNFs, Arvid points, Max P20 to P6, and then prediction correction with the Fire and Dyer stuff. And I actually did get a point in the prediction season. I have this in the bag, y'all. Kind of my final thoughts are that I really enjoyed this race, even though I was very tired, because it was 5 AM for me. A lot happened. It was kind of intense compared to last year, I would say. So yeah, I'm very excited to see the season. So thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it. If you have any thoughts about the race, anything I missed, or anything you predicted that you were correct or wrong about, comment that. Subscribe if you want more. It would really help me out here. And then if you want to, you can click the click the hype button on mobile. It also helps me. And yeah, share and all that. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. A little bit Finnish. He's Finnish. I also like Arvid. Because I'm Swedish. So anyway, next VSC. I'm not even a big Ferrari fan. I'm not really a big fan of any teams. I'm just watching for the sport. It's pretty nice, I guess. I have some drivers that I like, but no team that I follow too closely. I gotta be honest, I don't really. I'm not too into the tire like strategy, so my explanation is not that good. Go to P1 with Matt and Tommy to get a better explanation, but I've actually thought that both Astons didn't finish the race or had DNFs. Actually, Lance Stroll finished the race 15 laps down.